And to beat them, you don't have room for error. And that's where those self-inflicted errors come.
Also, before we move on to the Lamar MVP thing, can I just also, I have to be fair. I call the Bills the September champs. Mm-hmm. The Ravens being, and there's no banner coming, the Ravens being the team of October and Lamar being the MVP in October.
He loves it.
Well, every single, we can just go through the headlines since he first became a starter. 2019, Lamar Jackson on the verge of usurping Russell. Oh my goodness, Russell Wilson MVP conversation. Those are the days. That's also not how you spell Aaron Rodgers' name, but that's fine. CBS, terrible job by you.
Really?
All right, 2020.
A lot of vowels.
Jackson shows MVP for him. Helped Washington to beat Washington 31-17. What about October of 2021? How was that one? This is the best Lamar Jackson we've ever seen.
Bill Barnwell
from my friend Ben Solak at The Ringer. Well, you're going to see Ben a few other times here. October of 2022, what was the Lamar Jackson MVP candidate leads clutch drives, Ravens beat Bengals. October of 2023, was it more Lamar Flowers? The hot read, Lamar Jackson for MVP. And October of 2024, yesterday, Lamar Jackson is MVP. Sorry, Brock Purdy's flaw. I don't know why they included that. That was just that.
You know that's the only reason you put that.
So, listen, I know who in October typically looks like the league's best team and who looks like the league's best quarterback. Very often it's Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. And that's, I don't know how much that's worth, but it does, and it almost sounds like I'm taking a shot. I'm not. It does show that different iterations, different coordinators, different personnel, they are, by around the time we get to the midway point of the season, always look awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A couple of years Lamar got hurt, and we know the playoff stuff is the playoff stuff. But every year around this time, it's like, you know who might be the best team? Baltimore. You know who might be the MVP? Lamar. And so it's not, that part's not new.
Okay. We're going to talk about this. I want to play another clip that I haven't seen yet, but I really wanted to highlight this clip because Nick was clearly going after the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson especially. But there's another clip I did again that I haven't seen, but they have this conversation about should Lamar be the MVP or whatever. But it has Greg Jennings in it, and so I really wanted to show that first. So just bear with me as I set this next clip up. You can just look at that as I do it, and just give me 1 second because I gotta go through something to be able to do it. Okay, so there we go. I can remove that. Now let's just jump into that stuff.
To win his third MVP, the narrative, fair or not, is that Lamar's trophy case should be locked until he added a Super Bowl ring, since the team has looked subpar when it mattered most. The Ravens' offense in Lamar's 4 playoff games, well, not great. Bro, do you believe this season will end differently for your Ravens?
I do. Obviously, they're my Super Bowl pick. You guys know them. I got them beating the Packers in the Super Bowl. And I think it's up to them. I think they, last year, were the best team in the NFL. They looked like that throughout the regular season. And even looked like that against Houston in the playoffs, their first game in the playoffs. They destroyed the Texans. And then the mystique of Kansas City, they forgot their identity. They had a lot of penalties. They looked like an immature football team against Kansas City. And so I think a lot of their problems are fixable. First of all, the defense has to improve. The defense, we know they've always been great defensively, even with different defensive coordinators. So I thought they'd be able to handle a change in defensive coordinator. So far, not so good. They do have to improve that. But I think with their personnel and their culture of defense, I think they'll improve that. Special teams has been atrocious. There have been 2 onside kicks this whole season, every NFL game combined, that have been recovered by the kicking team, and they were both against the Ravens. All right, Dallas did it to them, and last night Tampa Bay. And then penalties. They're like 2nd or 3rd in the league in penalties, total penalties. Last night they had 9 for 85 yards. So they keep sticking themselves in the foot. It's self-inflicted wounds, and that is what they have to get rid of. We all know they have the great offense, and they have a great running game. The Chiefs are a great defensive team in all ways, but they might not run it against the Chiefs well initially, but they have to keep running it even if they get down a score or 2. So, yeah, I think this is their year, but they got some things to work on.
Yeah, it's hard not to believe that things won't end differently, or when you look at the Ravens and what they're doing right now, as the season stands, you got, and let's be honest, we're looking at the Chiefs. That's the team that they're chasing. That's the
they're the defending champs.
Exactly.
The dynasty.
So when I look at the Chiefs and where they are currently, and when they first matched up, obviously week 1, the Chiefs had everybody that they needed.
More
healthier team, and they got the win, rightfully so. But you could argue that the Baltimore Ravens at that point in the season, week 1, hadn't really established who they wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know if we were going to see Lamar run 16 to 20 times a game or throw it more. Derrick Henry wasn't heavily involved. And the Chiefs, they did something to stop that. But the point that I'm making is when you look at where they are right now, it's hard to believe that this team, it won't end differently. Forget the playoffs, just from the eye test, it's like, man, aside from their defense, giving up so many points, but then their offense can put up so many points. It's like it's a big hole to fill and a void to fill, but you just believe with Derrick Henry in the backfield, with Lamar being unlocked to whatever level he's going to, this is a team that's going to be threatening the Chiefs and the Texans.
I don't think they're going to get to play the Chiefs because I think they'll lose in the playoffs well before they play the Chiefs because that's what they do. And I think Lamar can be the MVP. That's fun. Last year they were the 1 seed. Right. They had won 1 playoff game. I don't think because the Chiefs won that first game, I don't think they're going to catch the Chiefs in the standings.
Right.
So in order to beat the Chiefs, they're going to have to win 2 playoff games. I don't think they will. Really? I think there's so much weird math going on with this team, and this is where if you weren't watching an hour ago, I said I'd be fine with Lamar winning MVP. He and Jared Goff to me are the 2 leading candidates right now. But now a quick reality check. First of all, everyone kills the Ravens for abandoning their identity. But nights like last night, when they abandon their identity and Derrick Henry has 4 carries through 2.5, 3 quarters, nobody cares because it's working.
I was like, what are they doing?
It was obvious.
Nobody's like, oh, these dumb Ravens. They're like, man, Lamar is the GOAT, bro. He is cooking. So it's a weird thing. That's the old, like, we get mad at them when they have that exact game plan, but it's not working. But when it is working, it's flowers forever. I saw a KW tweet, and I was like, I feel like sometimes I'm the only person who remembers anything. So,
me?
Yeah, Wilds tweeted this last night.
I have a spelling error.
Wilds tweeted, Lamar's the 2-time MVP playing better than ever. Josh Allen already won the AFC East, hasn't thrown an interception. Mahomes playing the worst football of his life. If Josh or Lamar can't make the Super Bowl this year, it literally will never happen. To which I will say, that is, take the Josh Allen part out of it. Let's just focus on the Lamar part. That is exactly the logic at the end of last season. When Mahomes was playing worse than he is now, the team was losing, Lamar was, he didn't play this well. Can we show Lamar's final regular season game last year? So 5 touchdowns, 330-plus yards, even better completion percentage, 158 passer rating. We have all seen this exact story.
No, I like Derrick Henry. The Derrick Henry Ravens.
Okay, the Derrick.
That's a difference.
You're right, and we don't know how the Derrick Henry Ravens would look against Kansas. Damn.
That was week 1.
Okay,
yeah, they didn't know what they were.
Okay, so again, okay, that's fine. It's fine. We can throw it out.
And the Chiefs aren't as healthy as they were in week 1.
This is where I just have to be honest. We have to hold Lamar to the sports standard, which is it is not being a hater to say if you are a 100% failure rate in the postseason, we're not going to assume this is the year it changes. And it's not about like
100. When you say 100%,
I'll show it to you right now.
He hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl.
No.
Right.
Every year of his career, his worst game of the season was in the playoffs. Every year of his career, the Ravens' worst offensive game of the year was in the playoffs. Every single year.
How did he play against Houston last year?
No, it doesn't mean he's never had a good playoff game.
Okay.
But every single game, if you were to say what was his worst game of the season, he's 4 for 4 in it being the playoff game. This other stat, which they have in Lamar's regular season career, go to the next one, Dust. Never held a lead twice out of 84 games, and 4 out of 6 in the playoffs. Both of those stats are unbelievable. The fact that it happens to him once every 3 years in the regular season is unbelievable, where you just trail the whole time. And the fact that it has happened every year he's been in the playoffs is also unbelievable.
Okay. we got to be fair here, okay? We got to be fair. To put this all on Lamar is just absurd. If you want to put this on the Baltimore Ravens, their game plan, their coaching, all of that, that's totally fair. That is. But a couple of those games, one was Lamar's first time ever, and the other time was Lamar, I forget exactly. He had a concussion, or he was banged up. Like, he clearly wasn't fully healthy. And then, I forget what the third time was, but then the fourth time was versus the Chiefs, right, this past time. And it was a bizarre game plan. I mean, I've said this so many times, I just absolutely ripped the game plan. So if you want to blame the Ravens and the coaching staff, I think that's fair game. If you want to blame the construction of the team, I think that's fair game. But Lamar Jackson actually gets the least amount of blame. He does get some blame. He is the quarterback. He does get some blame. But he gets the least amount of blame from my viewpoint, especially for last year. They left him on an island. I mean, that whole season, his number one target was a 5'9" rookie wide receiver. Okay? And he didn't have Derrick Henry with him either. Yeah, he had a significantly better defense. No question about it. But then they just decided to just be backwards with their play calling. So yeah, it's just funny that Nick is very upset because he doesn't like when anyone else gets credit outside of the Chiefs. And now he's essentially trying to pull down the Ravens in order to elevate the Chiefs, because we can see how bad Patrick Mahomes has been, right, this season. The defense has been great, unbelievable. But Lamar Jackson has undeniably been better. And it's not even close. It's not even up for debate. And again, they always talk about this in week 1. You don't overreact to week 1. Week 1, last year, the Detroit Lions beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Does Nick think that the Kansas City Chiefs were worse than the Detroit Lions? No. I mean, last year, the Philadelphia Eagles, who Nick thinks were awful last year, and Jalen Hurts is not a good quarterback, beat Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Does that mean that the Chiefs were not as good as the Philadelphia Eagles? The Raiders, with Aiden O'Connell, beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Does that mean that Aiden O'Connell and the Raiders were better than the Chiefs? We know what Nick thinks. So you can't hang on this week 1 game as an end-all, be-all. This is proof that the Chiefs would beat the Ravens. Do the Chiefs have more injuries than they had then week 1 than they do now? Yes or no? The answer is yes, obviously. Are the Ravens playing better football since week 2, honestly? Since week 3, 3 and onward? Are they playing significantly better football now than they were in weeks 1 and 2? The answer is obviously yes. So yeah, that's what Greg Jennings is arguing more than anything here. You don't just go to these random matchups. And just because you haven't had success in the past doesn't mean that you want. Under that logic, then Tom Brady is better than Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady's better than Patrick Mahomes, man. Lost in the playoffs, lost in the Super Bowl. He will never beat Tom Brady, which means Tom Brady's the GOAT. Tom Brady is the undeniable GOAT. How can Patrick Mahomes be the GOAT when he never even beat the GOAT before Patrick Mahomes? He can't. So again, if we want to play that game, then we got to be consistent with those rules. Those are not the rules that I play by, because I think it's nonsense. But those are the rules that they try to create. And if we're going to create those rules, then we got to be consistent about them. We got to be consistent. So, I don't understand. We can have a conversation about the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson and playoffs. We can have an honest conversation about that. We can talk about it, right? Because I've said this, I've had these conversations before in the past. I've talked about it with Lamar Jackson, with Dak Prescott, whatever, right? When you are an all-time great quarterback, who I'm not saying Dak is, but when you're talking about an all-time great quarterback or team, whatever, you do get judged how you play in the playoffs. But I am getting tired of this narrative that it's just like Lamar plays his worst game in the playoffs, because it's implied that it's like he can't take the bright lights. Like he suddenly panics. Like that's what I take issue with. If you want to point out that the Kansas City Chiefs were more well prepared than the Ravens last year, that Andy Reid outcoached Harbaugh, I think that's 100% fair game. And that Spags outcoached the OC for the Ravens. I think that's fair game. But to just put it all on Lamar is where it's just absurd to me. Because again, and I'm not saying this to troll Chiefs fans or Mahomes fans. Well, one, this helps Patrick Mahomes big time. But also, more importantly, you can see this. You can see how this guy is not playing good at all. 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Look at the company that he's keeping. And yet they're undefeated. I mean, this graphic shows you more than anything how the NFL is a team sport. How defenses can pick you up. How game plans can pick you up. So again, the real honest conversation isn't about Lamar. It would be more about the Baltimore Ravens. So do I believe that this year will end differently for Lamar? This is what I can tell you. I believe that the Ravens need to do everything in their power to make sure that it does end differently. Not only for Lamar, but themselves. Because they are a better team. They were the better team last year. They are the better team this year. Their quarterback played better than Patrick Mahomes last year, and their quarterback is playing better this year. And I've said this weeks ago now. The Ravens need to go all in this season. This is the year. Lamar Jackson's legacy, Lamar Jackson's GOAT legacy is at stake right now. Lamar Jackson wins a Super Bowl this year and a Super Bowl MVP. He is in that GOAT conversation now. The conversations will be, how many Super Bowls does Lamar Jackson have to win to be considered the GOAT? That is what the conversation would change. It would be the conversation all offseason. Can Lamar Jackson get MVP again and repeat? Will the Ravens start a dynasty? Right? How many Super Bowls does Lamar Jackson need to win to surpass Patrick Mahomes, to surpass Tom Brady? Like, that's what's at stake here. Because of everything that Lamar Jackson has done during the regular season. His regular season resume, flawless. But they need to step up, of course, via the playoffs. But again, what do the Ravens need to do? Do they need to make a few trades at the trade line to boost up that defense? Do they need to get Lamar Jackson another weapon? Again, whatever it may be. The Ravens should absolutely, and I've said this about a couple teams this season, need to absolutely positively go all in. This is the year. The Super Bowl is ripe for the taking. I am not afraid of the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm afraid of Andy Reid. I'm afraid of Spags. And I'm afraid of Mahomes in isolation, even though he's playing bad. But this team itself is not intimidating. Beating a decimated, injured 49ers team, where Patrick Mahomes has his worst career game in passer rating, is not intimidating to me. Watching the Ravens roll the Bills, roll the Cowboys, roll the Buccaneers, yeah, that's way more impressive to me than the Chiefs beating an injured Bengals, an injured Saints, an injured 49ers, an injured Falcons, an injured Chargers. Every single one of their teams. We can say, oh, there's injuries all around the NFL. Not all injuries are equal, okay? I don't know how you expect a team to win when they're missing every single offensive weapon. I mean, what makes a team special is the run game, and then you're going to take away their starting offensive linemen. Like, those things don't go hand in hand. And I get it, the Chiefs are injured. But that's my point. The Chiefs are injured. They're injured too. So if the Ravens can be healthy, and if the Ravens can continue to improve and get better, and juice up their roster, and not outcoach themselves, and shoot themselves in the foot, this year will end differently for not only Lamar Jackson, but also the Baltimore Ravens. But think about how confident Nick is that this year, that they won't even get a chance to play the Chiefs. because they're going to lose in the playoffs. That Lamar will yet again have his worst game of the season in the playoffs. That's the level of confidence that Nick Wright has in the lack of abilities of not only Lamar Jackson, but also the Baltimore Ravens. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens? Do you believe this year will end differently for Lamar or the Ravens, or both? I guess and both. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.